All right, today we are going to react to the Scott Jump video. Survivor Entitlement is reaching a boiling point. Before we get into it, drop a like, subscribe. Got a second channel, man, where I'm posting Survivor content. Probably do other horror games on that channel. Who knows? But make sure you go check it out. It's called Not Wolf. All right, let's get into it, man.
Hey guys, Scott here. I don't like making videos like this. I like my videos to be as unbiased as possible, or at least devil's advocate for both sides, and try to get a balanced discussion here. I honestly think people that are one-sided are a plague upon DBD's community in general, and I even have like the caustic opinion that if you do not play both sides at least a little bit, you shouldn't even get to have an opinion on the game's balance. You can still have an opinion on the game, you know, it being...
Now, this was me when I first started playing Dead by Daylight. I played Killer. So I was one of the people he was talking about, bro. I was just playing Killer. I didn't play Survivor at all. I played every now and then, but not to the point where I wanted to test, like stress test how good Survivor could be, or you know what I mean? To that effect. So I couldn't really give you a valid opinion. However, now that I've been playing Survivor, my success is dependent on my style of play. So if I play solo queue, I play selfishly. I'll let my other teammates die to escape, right? If I play with a squad and my squad is really good, a lot of times killers don't have a shot because we're gen rushing, we're bringing deja vu. So on the Survivor side, you have to understand that there are different dynamics, right? But the thing about it is, and you can see it in the game, you can see it when you play Survivor. You can tell that the Survivor entitlement is what carries the game. And what I mean by that is the entitlement's so bad that the devs changed the game for these guys. For like people that play solo queue, people say solo queues, it's more, you're going to play a lot more solo queue lobbies than you are SWFs. I don't find that to really be true. I find it depending on your MMR and the time of day you play. So the later you play, if you're like a high skilled killer, if you play late at night, you're facing SWFs like 90% of the times. I don't even think they're, bro, it might be even higher than that. But if you're playing during the day, like from 8, 9 in the morning till about 5 or 6, a lot of the lobbies are solo queue. And then we have to input your MMR. So I say that to say this. The Survivor entitlement has changed the game to where they catered to the less skilled, which inadvertently super buffed the SWFs at the high level. And there's the disconnect, right? They complain, they got the data. Look, they got the data for like average to low MMR. And the data is so skewed because it's all over the place, right? It looks like killers are dominating, but at the high level, it's not like that at all. Because if you look at comp tournaments, they have to nerf Survivor and count hook stages instead of kills because SWFs at the high level are so overpowered. You get what I'm trying to say? I hope I'm like to where you can actually understand
as long as it doesn't involve making change to the game balance-wise, that's fine. But I really think if you don't play both sides, you shouldn't get to have an opinion on the game's balance because you cannot possibly understand what both sides are going through unless you experience it yourself. You just can't.
It's true.
So I don't like making us versus them one-sided videos. It's annoying. But I do.
The fact of the matter is it will always be us versus them no matter what. It does not matter what you say, what you do. It will always be one side versus the other. You get what I'm saying? You're never going to get rid of that.
I do feel like lately I am really kind of sick of Survivor shit. I am feeling very killer-sided lately.
Damn.
And I wanted to go over where does this end because it feels like there's constantly been a carrot dangling in front of survivors. And the carrot doesn't really seem to be satiating anybody because it's not changing the issues of people disconnecting, giving up on first hit. Anything unfortunate happens within the first minute of the match, I just stop playing the game entirely.
So he's talking about like in a lot of the matches, depending on the killer you're using, or if you outplay a survivor early. See, survivors know that they have a window of how many rage quits before the matchmaking ban system takes effect, bro. You got like, what, 4 or 5? So at any given moment, random survivors come into your lobbies, they probably have a fresh 5, bro. And they just start quitting. They just start quitting. And if you outplay some of them, like they'll just quit. If you use certain killers, they just quit. That is some of the Survivor entitlement. But Survivor entitlement goes deeper than that, bro. It's not just quitting. It's having the game fundamentally changed because they don't want to get better at the game. See, the survivors have already realized that crying benefits them more than practicing. Practicing is hard. It takes consistency, right? It takes commitment. But crying about stuff in the game, that's just a Twitter post, bro. And you get a whole bunch of people that agree with you that are the same, the game changes. You get what I'm saying? We have forgotten about practice to get better because, well, people are just lazy, bro.
Now, it's kind of interesting because survivor entitlement is just straight up more common than killer entitlement. And a lot of that is because there's just 4 times as many survivors in a game as killers. So you're 4 times as likely to see a survivor give up, not play the game, just, try to kill themselves or just run in a corner, do nothing, anything to just abstain from actually playing the game. You're more likely to see it because there's just simply more of them. That being said, I don't even think it's like a 1-to-1 ratio like that. If it were equal, it would be like 4-to-1, right? So it would be 4 survivors for every 1 killer that feels entitled and gives up during the match. But I feel like it's more like 8-to-1. I feel like survivors give up at a rate significantly higher than killer that doesn't account for the asymmetrical nature of that balance.
Right.
So a lot of that is due to, I don't even know anymore. Like,
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you what it is. It's the fact that they've all realized that this is how they get stuff changed. It's no longer, hey, you know what? I'm going to try and practice, because at the high level, there are survivor teams that will cook killers consistently, no matter who they are. There's times where you'll lose that one game because the killer is just as good as you. But for the most part, man, survivors who are efficient and can loop, it's going to be hard to beat them. And now that they're going to remove the strategies, killers really don't, there's nothing they can do. There's just not enough game time right now, bro. But I go back to saying this. Survivors have realized that crying gets them further than trying. I think I just made a
long time ago, I used to understand and frankly even advocate for giving up or just DCing and stuff back in the day. This was when there was stuff like the original Legion, which if you didn't advocate DCing against the original Legion, my only response to you is you must not have known what original Legion was, because it's just there was no game. You didn't get to do anything.
Also, before we continue, also just want to point out that survivors know that if they skew the stats, it'll change in their favor. So the more quits, behavior looks at it like, oh my God, something's going on. We got to fix something. Our survivors are quitting. Case in point, why they're changing the game, because their stats are showing that people are uninstalling because of one bad game. But you could have 10 bad games. You get that one that makes you upset. You uninstall, they give you a survey, and you're filling out that survey based on your emotions.
That was an especially egregious, ridiculous thing that no one should ever have to play it against, and then they eventually changed it because it was just insanely busted. The only other thing that I remember saying that it was okay to DC against was Skull Merchants, the original Skull Merchants, intentionally going for server lockouts, doing an hour-long 3-gen, back before there were 3-gen protections and things like that. That I felt... I'm sorry, Timmy...
I honestly don't think we needed a 3-gen protection. That in itself is a strategy. Even in comp, it's a strategy. There should not be no 3-gen protection, man. I'm sorry. If anything, you got to remove it from the perks. It should just be kick based only. There's no reason my surge should count toward a 3-gen. If someone goes down within the range after they realize I have surge, then that's the survivor's mistake. Remove it, man.
Coming home from work after working 62 hours should not have to sit in an hour-long match because some guy's a masochist and just wants to... or I guess a sadist rather, and just wants to just torture people by keeping them in a match, because no one did hour-long server lockout Skull Merchant matches because they were just really trying to win. They did.
Bro, y'all remember that? Y'all remember the game where I played Survivor against a Nemesis in RPD, bro? And we did the server where the server ended. Y'all remember that gameplay? I wanted to win, but they still gave me the loss. If you're a survivor and you force the survivor to lock out the server, if you force it to lock out, man, it gives you the loss. It gives the killer the win.
It to torture people. And so those are the 2 things where I was like, okay, you should be able to not have to play against that. But there hasn't been anything remotely that broken in the game for years and years now.
I agree.
So my question is how much do survivors need before we stop seeing this?
How much more help do they need?
Because it seems like I said, there's a carrot that's been dangled in front of them, and they keep getting buffs and buffs and buffs and buffs.
Yeah.
And
they don't see it as buffs, man. They still think it's killer-sided. They still think the killers are getting too much, bro. They still believe that. All the help and even the devs said because they gave killers 5-second BBQ after a hook that they were holding their hands, bro. Even the devs think the killers are getting too much. I feel like I'm living like in an alternate universe, bro. I don't know what's going on. Something changed.
It still keeps happening. Like lately, we just had the pallet density changes, one of the biggest nerfs to killer in recent memory.
And I don't even think it's a nerf. I say it's game breaking. You broke half the killers. You can't even use them because of the pallets. Did you see what they did to my guy, the clown guy, bro? Did you see what they did to my guy, bro? They took him to every pallet in Autohaven. My guy, the clown, couldn't do nothing. It's a shambles right now. The pallet update is game breaking for half the killer roster, or maybe a little bit more at the high level. I don't know about average.
It really heavily impacts a lot of killers. I have felt it. Yep. A lot of other killers have felt it. There are a lot more pallets. Even if all of them aren't super great, there's still a lot more to chain together. And in the hands of a good player, chasing people with an M1 killer now has become significantly harder.
Yes. And I would go further than that. I don't think it's significantly harder. I think it's unplayable. I think it's broken. And the fact that no one's taking it serious besides me, Scott Junn, probably quiet kills, I don't know. That speaks volumes. Look, the top creators aren't saying nothing about the pallets, bro. Instead, they're showing you a build of pallet shredding. Bro, talk about the game being broken in its current state.
Killers got nerfed with that, but I'm still seeing disconnects like every 2 or 3 games in the exact same way without tunneling or camping. I just hit a guy, or a zombie hits a guy, or I lose Lethal Pursuer and get a quick hit at the start, whatever.
Because of the free quits.
Every single game, or like every other game, someone that just feels entitled to that, this wasn't fun for me, so I'm out. So that's still happening, even with the changes that just nerfed Killer. And next patch, we're going to get even more insanely strong Survivor buffs.
And that will kill the killer role. The next update that comes out will effectively kill the killer role, because they would have effectively removed any sort of strategy the killer can use, forcing you to use a killer that can move around the map within seconds. So you're talking about ghouls, Vecnas, nurses, blights, hillbillies, Oni. But even Oni's going to be kind of nerfed because you can't just slug people. So I just don't see... I don't see how you keep going as someone who plays, and the Unreal is going to be obsolete. So you can't even slug for condemns and stuff like that. I just don't see people using Ghostface, people using Trapper. Now, if you're playing for the sole purpose of just playing to have fun, keep doing what you're doing. But for the people that play to compete because there is an MMR system which forces the game into a competitive state, you guys are going to have to move up, man. They're pushing you into a corner. You're going to have to use killers that can compete. And even then, a lot of the times, man, those killers at the high level still have to strategize. So, yep. It's crazy times we live in.
And Killer, again, is not really getting anything. They're getting jack shit. I guess some more blood points. That's nice. But for the most part, survivors are getting massively buffed. They now have adamantium armor after unhook, and tunneling is being severely nerfed, and proxy camping is being nerfed, and slugging is being nerfed, which, a lot of these things I do think are bad for the health of the game, and having some adjustments there is fine. But, dude, my worry is, with like the pallet density changes, it's still happening. What if with all of these buffs, it still happens? Like, I actually think...
No. It's still going to happen. They're still going to quit. The survivors are going to effectively run this game into the ground. Look at the viewership already, man. I remember putting on Dead by Daylight on Twitch, like during the day, during the prime time, it was like 50K viewers, 49. If you look at any given moment, it's in the 20s, bro. I don't know about right now, though. You know what? Matter of fact, let me check. I just want to... Well, actually, you know what? I can check with my phone. Let me just check really quick. Hang tight, guys, because I really want to see at this point in time how much Dead by Daylight has. 21,000 viewers right now. And it's 2:14 in the afternoon. You see what I'm saying? Back in the day, it was 48. And I say that to say this again. Tunneling, camping, and slugging are a necessary evil. Before you mention anything anti, which was last year, like, all the crazy changes, the game was actually growing. If you go look at the Steam charts, right, and click on all, it'll show you a steady growth. Then when they started to mention that they were going to do this and that with anti this, anti that, bro, the game plateaued. And it stayed flat. You get what I'm saying? it's a necessary evil. The game was growing with all these strategies in place, and you effectively stopped its growth. Actually, you kind of killed it because now it's going down. Now we're at 20,000 viewer interest. I'm telling you, man, it's like between 20 and 28 every time I open. Now, I'm sure there's going to be days where they have some sort of event and all that. It'll climb. But as far as steady viewership, it's at a plateau and it's flat or it's declining. It's one or the other. Ever since they started mentioning all this crazy stuff, man, it happened that way. People are quitting.
Even with all these changes, we're still going to have people that feel like it's just not enough. And then you have to draw the line somewhere. I understand, getting face camped to death by a Bubba, that needed fixing, and it got fixed and stuff like that. I understand being slugged for 4 minutes to death probably needs fixing and stuff like that, but we're getting to the point where I'm like, okay, they're basically fixing almost everything that there is a problem with in Survivor. And even solo queue is getting buffs with the unhook bar that gives you sort of a base kit kindred effect. Solo queue
and remember what I said earlier, and it's just inadvertently buffing SWFs, bro.
Survivor has gotten numerous buffs over the years with the UI and things like that. So they're even making the worst side of Survivor, solo queue, they're making that better as well. And trust me, I get it. I pretty much only play solo queue. I understand how miserable solo queue can be, but you guys that are complaining about solo queue, you guys got to realize most of the time what you're complaining about is your teammates. You're not even complaining about the game, but then people want the game to be easier when really it's your teammates and matchmaking that's the problem. So we have a disjointed request from
and I honestly think, bro, the matchmaking is useless because there's just not enough players no more, man. I think matchmaking requires like a good pool of players, right? But I think it's getting tougher. Like games for kill are going to be easier because I would imagine a lot of the sweats are leaving or maybe some are staying. I don't know. It's one of those weird, you can feel it in your matches, man, sometimes.
Survivors that are entitled and they're not even trying to fix the correct thing. It's really, you're just getting shitty teammates and that's why you're losing. It's not because there's just not enough pallets or anything like that. It's just usually because your team is bad, because the matchmaking is bad, and then people go, well, that means the game needs to be easier.
Right.
But that's not your issue. So that's one of the main problems here. They're not focusing on the correct thing to complain about, which is mostly, and forever will be probably, the matchmaking itself. Now, the reason that's basically never going to be fixed is because the escapes set your MMR. That's the only thing that matters. And as everyone knows, just escaping does not dictate whether or not you are good at Survivor. For killers, it being based solely on kills is a lot more reasonable because you kill everyone, you're typically doing well. But if you get chased for 5 gens and then die, the game still thinks you're worse. So the matchmaking is just doomed to fail. And then a lot of solo queue players attribute that to why the game is so bad. But the game, in terms of balance, is fine. Survivors, in my opinion, now, you got enough shit. You guys are
And it's too much. It's already been too much for about, for a while. It's already been too much, man. It's been too. How long has Comp DBD been around? How long has Team Eternal been around? These guys have been showing you just how good, if you practice and play Survivor enough, you could be escaping most of your matches. How long have those guys been around? So as far as balance, and they say, hey, we're not going to balance around those guys. We're going to balance around the Timmies. And that's the problem. Because the Timmies won't stop crying. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what you do for them, bro.
Fine now.
They're entitled.
Yes, having bad teammates can sully the whole experience. I understand that. But you realize you're not complaining about the balance of the game itself. But we keep getting nerfs to killer like the game itself.
Well, you also have to remember that they start complaining about tunneling because they can't escape a killer, even with the perks that they have. If you go watch my gameplays on my second channel, bro, a Wraith tried to tunnel me. And then the very next game, a Blight tried to tunnel my teammate. And we escaped because of skill. Right? People who don't have the skill are the ones to complain. So we're kind of like we're in a weird situation where it's not really us versus them. It is us versus them, but there's also a different dynamic. It's the good players versus the sucky players, bro. You get what I'm saying?
That's the disjointed thing that's leading to so many issues here. So I don't really know where this whole thing is going to end. I do really think it's got to
not.
stop at some point, right?
It's not.
Because eventually we're going to get
stops
to
when
a
the game
point
dies.
where if survivors are still not happy, they're still not happy, they get more and more and more, and they're still not happy, still not happy. Eventually we're going to get to a point where killers are just simply not going to play the weak killers or mid-tier killers anymore, because everybody enjoys.
And my advice to you guys coming from a real killer main, start now. Start now. Start playing. If you're going to continue to play this game, start now. Because when that update drops, it's over. I'm telling you the truth. It's already over with the pallet changes. From what I understand, they're going to remove some of the pallets, but we got to see what they actually do. It might still be bad. You guys know how they do it, bro.
Winning. Losing every once in a while, no big deal. It's not going to ruin your day or anything like that. But if you lose and lose and lose and lose and lose and lose because you're playing Pig or, one of the other 27 killers or whatever that are frankly not good enough to compete anymore with a lot of these map changes, then what we're going to have is negative reinforcement leads to a desire to remove that negative reinforcement, which means you're just only going to see like the top 5 or 6 killers for the rest of the game's lifespan, because people will eventually reach a boiling point where they can't handle losing anymore. And I'm not saying it's impossible to win with Peg or anything like that. I'm just saying it's being made disproportionately harder to do so in such a way that doesn't reflect the problem of the game itself, which is the matchmaking, not the actual balance of maps and killers and things like that. Obviously, there's still a few annoying things on killers, and some of the top tiers are still extremely oppressive in the right scenarios, but the game as a whole right now is shifting to just 100% being survivor-sided. I would love to see the kill rates.
Bro, this guy's like, he may have some weird takes, bro, sometimes, but we got to hand it to him, man. We got to hand it to him. The fact that we took him out of whatever it was, I know he says he's unbiased, but he's flat out saying it now. We're at a point where we never thought people would just admit it. We never thought a dev would admit it, right? We never thought we'd be at this point, yet here we are. Now, there is something else I wanted to bring up, and is that, are we going to do a killer protest when this update drops? That's something to think about.
Like the month or two before they added the pallet density changes to right now. I would love to see that, because I can guarantee they have gone down. I know my kill rates have gone down, not super significantly. It's not like I can't win anymore or anything like that, but I have noticed it's gotten harder for sure for me to win, especially with not like, a top 5.
Bro, check this out. Here's the crazy part, right? Because I consistently win. My kill rates are still high, but the separation between me and him is that he doesn't play the way I play. Right, so he feels it tougher, right? His kill rates are going down because of the way he plays. He doesn't play the way I play. I play to win every match. I use every strategy that I have, right? But even in those games that I play, when they remove those strategies, I have to play like him, which means how the hell am I gonna win? Would I ever consider loading up Ghostface, Pig, or why would I even think of that? You get what I'm saying? So the difference between mine and his kill rates are different because of the way I play. So I play to win. Now, like I said, man, at the high level, you're going to face survivors that will body block. They will try to prevent you from, it's all part of the game plan, man. It's all part of the strategy, even on the survivor side. Take the hits, take the downs, stuff like that. Go watch the Blight gameplay on my second channel. You'll understand. You'll know exactly what I mean.
5 or 6 killer. And that's, I think, okay, but it should come with survivors finally going, okay, the game is fair now. We're not going to DC for every little thing, but it hasn't. Yeah. And that's why it's so frustrating. They keep getting more and more things, but it seems to never be enough. And I'm really worried that next patch, we're just going to have possibly the biggest buff survivors have gotten as a blanket, not involving perks, just generic base changes to the game. One of the biggest buffs they've gotten in recent memory. And I think we're still going to have the exact same shit. We're still going to have people getting hit in the first 30 seconds of the match and giving up. Yep. And
it's those freeze rage quits, man. You got to get rid of them. The penalty should come on the first quit. That's how you stop it.
I don't know how to fix it anymore. The problem, I think, is matchmaking. Matchmaking, you need to have good matchmaking to have teammates that are your skill level and killers that are your skill level, and I think that alleviates a lot of these issues. But until that's fixed, I think people are just telling behavior and complaining about the wrong things here. And that is going to result in an endless loop where killers are relegated to only playing the best killers, which makes survivors more upset, which makes them more entitled, which makes them ask for more, which makes more changes to buff survivors happen, which makes more killers only play the top 4 killers now than the top 3 killers. Before long, it's just Nurse and Blight.
Exactly.
And like, it's just this. You see the death spiral I'm talking about here.
Yes, it is on a death spiral. It really is. It's going down, man. It's a plane on fire.
To be a line in the sand drawn. And I'm not saying every survivor is entitled. I would say probably not even half of them are entitled. Most of them are just fine. But it's just too much. It's too much now. I feel like there's nothing I can do. Even if I play super nice, I get 2 hooks on everybody. Someone's still fucking bitching in endgame chat. Yep. Someone's still just complaining or DCing or giving up or just killing themselves. And
I had one person mad because I used barbecue and chili, bro. It was in the Springwood map. I think y'all remember. It was streamers. Facing streamers who were complaining about me using barbecue and chili.
I was sick of it. Where does it end? I'm annoyed that I have to be one-sided here, but it's got.
He's right, man. Like I said, the survivor side has completely taken over the game. The entitled survivor side has completely held the game hostage. And if you look at some of those live streams, the devs admit they're survivor main, so they're probably part of the problem. You guys remember back with the flashlights? When a dev, I guess he didn't realize how powerful flashlights were and then got cooked by the flashlight. So then they nerfed the flashlight. You guys remember that? We don't have that no more, man. The devs, if you ever watch them play killer, they don't know what they're doing. I refer to the very first 2v8 showcase when they first dropped 2v8. Go watch the gameplay from the devs over there and you'll see exactly what I mean. And the fact that they just admit they're survivor sided is, that's all that really needs to be said. They're trying to make this game to where if people would say this like a year or 2 ago, they're like, hey, they're trying to make it to where it's killer bots so survivors can have fun. And I feel like at first, like, it sounds dumb. But the more and more I see, it's like, maybe they're right, bro. Maybe they're trying to force the killers to just be AIs, man. I don't know. I don't know, bro. But let me know what you think in the comments, man. Is everybody overreacting? Did the survivor entitlement ruin the game? I have to agree with Scott Junn here, man. I feel like the survivor entitlement has really taken the game to a dark place, man. And I think that when this next update drops, it's effectively going to be the injection that kills the game. And I believe that 100%, man. Now, am I overreacting? I don't know. But let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!